I love that. I often marvel that snow in Washington, D.C. in particular, brings about a litmus test for what is really in our hearts and our minds, and especially when we have good snowstorms, because miserable people stay inside. And all the people who still have that childlike joy about the snow, they come out and spontaneous snowballs happen, and just people come together to shovel each other's sidewalks. And it kind of reminds me of Louis Armstrong's song, Wonderful World, that line where he says, I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? And it really is. It's one reason why I love the snow, because I know I'm going to get out and all the miserable Caraccio people are going to bah humbug at home, and then they'll come out eventually when it's safe to do so. The scripture I selected this morning comes from the prophet Isaiah, and I've always been captivated by his visions of a Messiah, because Isaiah says he would be born from a young maiden, not a virgin. Ask me in fellowship if you're curious about that. And they would call him Emmanuel, which means God with us. Now, Isaiah's words are uplifting and promising, and they transcend mere political and social freedom. Isaiah, in his writings, sees an ecstatic joy, and it's not just a promise. For Isaiah, it simply is. And we can hear this in his chapter 55, verses 10-13. As the rain and the snow come down from heaven and do not return to it without watering the earth and making it bud and flourish, so that it yields seed for the sower and bread for the eater, so is my word that goes out from my mouth. It will not return to me empty, but will accomplish what I desire and achieve the purpose for which I sent it. You will go out in joy and be led forth in peace. The mountains and the hills will burst into song before you, and all the trees of the field will clap their hands. Instead of the thorn bush will grow the juniper, and instead of briars, the myrtle shall grow. This will be for the Lord's renown, for an everlasting sign that will endure forever. Let's end at the reading of Isaiah chapter 55, verses 10-13. Now, as I prepared my sermon, I had all the components that I was taught in seminary to enhance the sermon, but I came across one specific item, one story, which really became the tentpole for my service. And the more I wrote about it and reflect on it, the more I began to whittle away some of the other parts of my sermon, because I felt this one example was the perfect tentpole that I did not want to distract from it. And here it is. When she was 29, social scientist Dr. Martha Beck had a near-death experience on the operating table. She says, there was a bright light that appeared. Maybe it was my brain. Maybe it was, I don't know, some mystical being. I don't know. But its presence filled me with a level of joy that I'd never experienced before. And it seemed to communicate with me. Again, could be my subconscious. But it said to me, your entire task in life is to live in a way that feels like you're feeling now. She says, so I very suddenly made a total commitment to this joy, and I never went back on it. When podcaster and entrepreneur Tim Ferriss asked her for tips on how to simplify one's life, Dr. Beck said that her commitment to this true joy had an inevitable, simplifying impact on her life, but not always easy by her own admission. Dr. Beck says that turmoil naturally followed this commitment to true joy. She left what she describes in her words, a very dogmatic religion, which in turn caused her family to reject her. And she eventually had to leave her marriage and her job and even the house she lived in. After some time, she applied to and was accepted to Harvard University School of Science, Social Science, ultimately earning her PhD from that institution. And she made it her life mission to help others find this pathway to joy. Oprah Winfrey called her the smartest woman I know, and NPR declared her America's best life coach. But this joy that was revealed to Martha Beck, how can we grasp it without experiencing near death? Dr. Beck acknowledges that true joy is not just any positive feeling, not happy, not upbeat, not something you get from a glass of wine or another stimulating substance. And it's definitely not that rush of dopamine we get from buying something or even after a significant achievement. True joy, according to Dr. Beck, we experience it as a quiet release that resonates through our entire nervous system. When we connect with it, she says, it's a sensation we can't fake. She says, when we think of someone we truly love, our muscles relax, our breathing deepens, we may even involuntarily smile. It, in Dr. Beck's words, is a lifting. It's an opening. Her guidance is simple. If you feel this joy or even a whiff of it, move toward it. If you do not, move away, or if you must, do less of it, no matter what. Life, in her words, became a version of that childhood game. You're getting warmer, warmer, or you're getting colder, colder. When she applied this litmus test to her own life, she discovered how much of her identity was based on obligation, guilt, familial expectations. And as these aspects of her life began to unravel, yes, she did experience fear, resentment, anger, grief, but through it all, she says, was an underlying sense of peace. In essence, this shift towards joy brought forth a new and true self. Now, I can't help but think that in the Gospel of John, when Jesus tells Nicodemus, you must be born from above to see the kingdom of God, this is kind of what he's talking about. And when Isaiah painted so poetically, you will go out in joy and be led forth in peace. The mountains and hills will burst into song before you, and all the trees shall clap their hands. That is the feeling that we should seek. That is the experience of the life around us. Now, in the context of Advent, we know joy is just one of the four components of this fourfold path that culminates in the arriving of the Christ consciousness. And it's best served for us, and it's best served in this world around us when it's a collective Christ consciousness. If you were here for my sermon on hope, my realization that the Messiah wasn't going to be one human being who came and stopped all war and who brought prosperity for everybody. It was a collective Christ consciousness. Now, in traditional Western churches, this fifth candle, which is bare, is lighted only on Christmas Day because it represents the physical birth of the baby Jesus. Metaphysically, however, we accept that for as long as we are here on earth, we're continuously in a state of nativity. In the best of times, we are continually evolving spiritually, our light shining a little more brightly over the years. But sometimes we do get caught up in our own humanity. Maybe sometimes we have to retrace our steps and readdress, once again, some old familiar struggle. The fourfold path represented by the Advent themes are, of course, not the only absolute way. We are not an absolute church just looking at what adorns our walls and the different sources that we pull for inspiration in our sermons and our services here. But 4 weeks ago, I said that hope is the openings we create in our lives for the divine to manifest good things. The Bishop Mary Ann Booty of the Episcopal Diocese of Washington declared that hope is a discipline and hope is a practice. If, like I said, hope is an opening, then those openings are occupied or filled according to the states of our heart and of our mind, for better or for worse. That's why hope must be a discipline. Hope must be a practice. And this is why personal peace is so critical. Shanti, shanti, shantihi. Peace, peace, perfect peace. Because when we're in a state of peace, we're less attached, less reactive, more aligned with divine order. and more likely to act from a posture of love. When we love our neighbors as we love ourselves, there is that spiritual equilibrium, as above, so below. But in order to unlock the power of that natural law, then we must achieve it as within, so without. Only then do we experience the unmitigated joy that surges from the Christed consciousness. True joy restores us, fuels us, carries us, leads us, and those around us like a flowing tide. This is the true prosperity awaiting us. Hope, peace, love, and joy. These are the vehicles, the compass, the roadmap, and the landmark of the home we seek, the Christed consciousness. Please close your eyes and repeat after me. My name is Emmanuel. My name is Emmanuel. I will live in such a way that God is with us. I will live in such a way that God is with us. I will never forget. I can never forget. I can never forget that I too am Emmanuel. I too am Emmanuel. We're going to transition into meditation. And those of you who work with me know I like to do box breathing, but I'm going to have you do box breathing, rather me lead it. I'm going to have you do this on your own. And it is going to be based on a mantra. Our mantra is going to be, thank you for this joy. So you're going to just relax your face, keep your lips closed, but you're going to breathe through the nose, and you're going to inhale for the duration of your mantra, thank you for this joy. And when that mantra is over, so you may have to say it very slowly to get a satisfying breath, you're going to hold that breath, that prana, for the duration as you say in your mind, thank you for this joy. And then you will gently release that breath through the duration of your mantra, which you say in your head, thank you for this joy. And then you will hold that emptiness to the duration of the mantra, thank you for this joy. So for each cycle of the box breathing, you are going to repeat that mantra 4 times. I'm going to walk you through it 1 time, but I want you to breathe at your own pace. I'm doing this meditation. I'll go first, and then Julia will provide some beautiful music. So inhale, thank you for this joy. Hold it, thank you for this joy. Release, thank you for this joy. Hold the emptiness, thank you for this joy. Please continue this box cycle with your mantra at your own pace. I want you to return to regular, relaxed breathing at your own pace. Keep your eyes closed while I share a poem written by a friend of mine. In the gentle embrace of acceptance, life unfolds as a luminous pathway where the soul rests in quiet satiation, graciously approaching one's next breath, full and complete, needing no other to bloom. This amazing existence is enough, a solitary flame burning bright within, whole in its radiance, undimmed by a lack of abundance. The state of being remains constant, eternal, a steady river flowing through seasons of more or less. Relationships arise like whispers of energy, shared pathways where kindred spirits converge, drawn inexorably as iron to a magnet's call. Here, love overflows a boundless character, spilling into the world without restraint or measure. With like-minded souls, vibrant and positive, ecstaticism deepens, a shared exaltation rising, strengthening the heart in ways of pure delight. In their presence, you are free, unmasked, expressive, wildly yourself, no layers to shed, only truth to reveal. Creation's hand has placed you here on the sacred trail of dark and light entwined. Embrace it all, the shadows that teach, the brilliance that heals, without resistance. Only surrender to the divine flow. Joy springs not from possessions or fleeting things, but from quiet contemplation, a still inner gaze, where peace resides and kindness gently gleans, the fruits of love, of wholeness, of serene release. Ardor courses free like blood through veins, a vital pulse of matched and mingled energies, shared openly, desired and welcomed, and ecstatic communion, holy in its fire. The ecstatic one walks without struggle, in full acceptance, gleaning joy at every turn, loving, kind, non-judgmental, radiant and whole, forever freely ecstatic. Let these words sit with you for a moment, and when you're ready, take one more breath, and on your exhale, open your eyes and return to us.